What up, guys? Got a question from Nolan, who sends me a message saying that he saw some video or some blog post where some, coach was saying that the toughest belt to get in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the white belt, because the hardest thing to do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to just get started. And so he sends me the message and he asks, Chewster, you must be one of my email members, right? You call me Chewster. He says, Chewster, what do you think the hardest belt to get in Jiu-Jitsu is? Is it the white belt, or do you think it's something else? Curious to hear what your opinion is. So, Nolan, thank you for the question, brother. So what is the toughest belt to get in Jiu-Jitsu? It's definitely not the white belt. The white belt's the easiest one to get. You show up to your class, you get your gi, and here is your white belt. Boom, there you go. Now, sure, there are some people that have some hardcore social anxiety issues and things of that nature. And for those people, getting started may be the toughest thing. But for most people, they start Jiu-Jitsu, and it's like anything else that they do. It's easy to get started, hard to stick through with things. Think about a diet. How many people get started on a diet? I'm going to lose weight, and I got this brand new diet. How many people stick with that diet 6 months to a year from now? Right? Very few. Someone gets a new workout program. Hey, I'm going to start lifting weights, right? I'm going to start lifting weights, going to get big and jacked, whatever. How many people stick with their workout program 6 months to a year from now? Think about making a child versus raising a child. One is very easy and fun. One is very difficult. Think about getting started in the beginning of a relationship when things are fresh and new and you don't know the person. It's all exciting, right? Think about sticking that relationship through when things start to get a little rocky, right? One's very fun and easy. One's very difficult. And I could go down the list with this with anything, right? Anytime you're asking a long-term commitment of yourself, it is going to be difficult, because what happens is you reach a point where in the beginning, you're running on the fumes of enthusiasm, right? Everything's new. You're inspired. You want to do this. And depending on the situation, those fumes might last you a couple days. They might last you a couple years. It just depends on the situation and how enthusiastic you are about this thing, right? But eventually you start to get into a period where you're kind of in the middle of something, right? The enthusiasm, those fumes, those are gone. And if you want to think of another analogy, it's like you're sailing, and you can no longer see the shore behind you, but then when you look in front of you, you can't see anything in that direction either. You're out in the middle of the ocean. You're in the middle. You can't see anything around you. You don't even know where you're going half the time, right? I think Seth Godin calls it the dip, right? We're in that period. And so again, that's what happens in Jiu-Jitsu, right? Maybe you hit the dip when you're in your later white belt phase. Maybe it's when you get your blue belt. And you're like, you kind of lose your enthusiasm, you get the blue belt blues. Maybe it's as a purple belt, I don't know. But a lot of people, it's in that middle part that they really struggle the most. And most people, never make it to blue belt, so I would imagine it's probably the later white belt stages. And it happens for a myriad of reasons. But again, those enthusiastic fumes are gone, and then you're typically running on either discipline, or more importantly, you find an internal drive that makes you want to do this thing, right? I think for most of us as black belts, we don't have some extraordinary amount of discipline. I think really what it was is that most of us have this love for coming in to train. We enjoy training. We like coming into roll, and it allowed us to more easily align our lives to do it, right? It didn't take so much more discipline to get into the gym, because getting to the gym is fun. I can tell you that in my entire life, adult life, rolling and training has been the dessert of my day, right? For almost 20-something years now. Love training. Now, other stuff requires way more discipline, like my dieting, making sure that I'm managing my life outside the gym properly, all these things. Those things require discipline, training does not. And so I think that, again, for a lot of times after the enthusiastic fumes wane, you have to find that internal drive that makes you want to come in and do this, regardless of the external outcomes. Whether you get the medal, whether you submit someone, whether good things are coming your way, you don't care. Whether you're the hammer, the nail, you like doing that thing. That's tough. Right? That's a difficult thing to sort of work through, and most people don't make it. And that's not just for Jiu-Jitsu, that's with everything, right? I just listed a few things, but you can think about with anything. It's anything that requires a long-term commitment. Very difficult. And so again, it sounds fun. If you just start, that's the hardest part. That's not the hardest part. Getting started is easy. Seeing something through, sticking with it for years is very difficult. And when you're talking about Jiu-Jitsu, you're talking about 7 to possibly 12 years, maybe shorter, maybe longer, to get a black belt. You're also talking about injuries that are going to come your way. You're talking about a very difficult martial art / sport just by its nature anyway. Tough sell for people. And again, I make no judgment, by the way, if you quit. I'm not one of those people that points the finger because it may not be for you. It's not for everybody. But it's tough. And again, if you're talking about what the toughest belt to get is, I mean, I guess the toughest belt would be red belt, since like you have to be a Gracie, right? You have to be like one of the old school guys to get that one. So I guess that's the toughest belt to get. Then maybe you'd say below that because you have to live to be old enough to get like the red and black belt and stuff like that. But I mean, for all of us training, for the most part, we kind of stop at black belt. We don't really care afterwards. The black belt's the toughest belt to get, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. That was my bearded opinion. Maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't, but let me know what you think. What do you think the toughest belt to get in jiu-jitsu is? Do you think it's the white belt? Do you think it's another belt? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll come chat with you guys later on once the video's been up for a few days and a couple of the comments have been put up. So anyway, that's the video. Nolan, hopefully that answers your question. Guys, talk to you next time.